get going. I am super excited to introduce secular Rarity, also known as Elliot, who is a secular humanist, speaker, atheist, activist, future juggler, which I want to hear more about, wannabe film noir detective, also want to know more about that, and leaf sheep enthusiast. SR is a host of the Atheist Experience and a founding member of the Conversation Coalition Nashville. So lots of experience building community. I am super excited to have you back. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm really thrilled to be back here just with RFR in general. Since I heard about this organization, I have been such a fan. And with you personally, like we got to hang out and work together a little bit like a year or so ago, and we did a bunch of stuff, and then just both of us have been super busy, and so we haven't had as much time to hang. So I'm really glad to be back, honestly. When Helen reached out to me and was like, hey, like, we're kind of scraping the barrel for guests and we just need any jackass that'll come on. I was like, oh my gosh, please. I'd be happy to.
That is not what she said.
This does not make me feel good because I'm going to be giving a talk, and I was wondering why they asked me back.
No. They said it was specifically the first week of July.
Yeah.
They were like, everybody is really busy the first week of July.
Not true at all. No, it
David
actually
T.
worked
Chad
out.
is not available, then everyone else is just scraping the barrel. That's what it is.
Exactly. David couldn't make it this week,
Yeah.
so we had to have someone else.
Somebody.
No, it's great. And it was perfect timing because last month we had a couple of episodes talking about pride and support for the LGBTQ plus community. And we kept referring to the importance of finding that community or building that community or family. And so this is so timely that we have you here to tell us all about how to do that kind of thing, because it is important to people.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. And it's so funny. Just, total coincidence, just one of those like small world kind of moments. I was hanging out with some buddies that I've worked together with, for a couple of years now, and in a handful of different online spaces. And we were all getting together Sunday morning to help, put on a show, just another community similar to this,
mhm.
and as we were hanging out afterwards and we were chatting, one of the individuals was kind of bemoaning the fact that in their local area they didn't have more avenues to get involved with. And I was really thrilled when, after about 10 or 15 minutes of her saying this, she real casually mentioned that she had just sent a message over here to y'all to start training on how to be, somebody answering phones and being there to help people. And I was like, that's phenomenal. That's such a great thing that you did in that moment where you had nothing else that you could find close by. But it also highlights exactly why I think this is so important. Again, it was great that she hit y'all up, and it's like, yes, please, everybody, that has time, come volunteer for this awesome organization. But again, it just shows that there's a hole, there's a lack here that we need to do better on. And I don't say that, in an accusation kind of sense towards anybody. I mean, if you're here right now, you're involved in community, you give a shit, I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm saying that to me too, I'm looking in the mirror before I'm looking out the window. I'm saying there's more even that I can do. And there's a lot of room for us to all get more involved and get our hands in more. So I'm excited just to talk with that. And again,
I want to publicly thank you, by the way.
Oh.
I listen to a lot of the ACA shows, and often I'll say, "Oh, I wish they would, whoever the caller is, this is really appropriate if they." Mostly they do, but sometimes they don't. But every single time I hear you talking at the right time, you suggest they call us, and that is fantastic.
Oh, well, thanks, man. This is such an incredible organization on so many levels, and I got a real big smile on my face a minute ago when you were talking about the amount of people that have been helped by the Secular Therapy Project, because I'm one of those people. It was because of the various atheist, non-religious, critical thinking, secular humanist, skeptic, type groups that I have been involved in, that, about a year or so ago when I was going through a really, really rough time, I had a couple of those friends that I had met in those spaces, and they were like, man, you really need to reach out to the Secular Therapy Project. And it's funny because, like, I mean, I was going on shows, like a show practically every other week, and I was telling people that. I was saying, like, oh man, if you're struggling, just call them up, man. If you got questions, just reach out. Like, it doesn't have to be a whole fucking thing. It can be simple, it can be easy. But without that support from those communities and those individuals that I met through those spaces, honestly, I wouldn't have seen that it was necessary for me to do it. And it has.
Wow.
I'm not saying everything's perfect. I'm not saying, fucking, golden rainbows and sunshine for the rest of my life. Of course not. But I was going through a really, really tough time. And it was because of spaces like this that I actually got some help. So like that's again, it just shows the power and the need for this, because that isn't the case for so many people. There are shit tons of people. I mean, y'all know how many people there are on a daily basis that are struggling. So yeah, again, just another point towards really trying to get people to do something. And please, by the way, y'all, just cut me off at any point. Rob, Gara, just interrupt me at any point, because otherwise I'll just ramble. And all of you, please just load the chat up with questions. That's what I want to do. I told them I just want to interact with y'all as much as possible. But I'll say that I think.
I want to know if that's a gumball machine behind you, and if
Oh, it is.
odd number or
I'll
even
talk
number of
about this.
gumballs in there.
Yeah, I have no idea. But it's actually marbles, so there's 0 gumballs in there. I'm very confident. But I had gumballs in there at one point. This is real, because it really is functioning. It's not an original, like, antique. It's a replica, but it is functioning. And there was, within like the first couple of years of me having it, I did actually put gumballs in it. And so, like, the only way to get the gumballs out is to either like take it apart or put a fucking quarter in it. And so after like $2 worth of my own quarters in my own gumball machine in my own house, it was kind of weird. So then the gum just went stale, and it was a waste of. It was only like $10 for. You could buy a lot of gum for not a lot of money, you guys. But anyway, no, it's marbles now. So
I just noticed it because I like the analogy whenever it comes up, about the idea of the burden of proof. If somebody's saying, if you don't believe it's the same as saying that it's wrong, or just tell God. And then the gumball analogy comes up a lot. And I think that's a lot better, frankly, than the courtroom one about the innocent versus not guilty.
Yeah.
But that one, I mean, that confuses me.
It's a little more abstract.
Yes, especially because the not guilty doesn't mean innocent, and it's like there's a double negative in there somewhere, and the gumballs are just crystal clear.
Well, and for people who may not have heard that analogy before, do y'all want to explain what that is? Yes, someone is asking, what is the gumball analogy?
Let
Thank you
Elliot
for
do
that
that.
question.
Yeah, sure. I mean, basically, just the idea that if it inside this gumball machine right now, if somebody were to walk up to me and say there is an odd number of gumballs in there, and I go, well, gosh, I'm just not convinced of that. That's not the same thing as me saying there is an even number of gumballs, right? And it's on the individual that is saying there is an odd number of gumballs to demonstrate that there is an odd number of gumballs, as opposed to me having to present to them that there isn't an odd number of gumballs. And it's a good kind of easy way to get that understanding of breaking down that true dichotomy, that it's not true versus false, it's true versus not true, and false versus not false. That is an important distinction when it comes to accepting a claim or making a claim. So
and also, talking about that might make somebody realize it's not really a logical thing to say, I know there's an even number of gumballs.
Yeah.
Right? Well, prove that to me.
Right.
No, someone else told me, so I believe them.
Right. We're stepping beyond what the information actually is.
Right.
But and truly, when it is just a happy coincidence that that is an argument used in this space. I just like gumball machines. So I also have a nice silver teapot in my kitchen, but again, nothing to do with
It's
Bertrand
in
Russell.
orbit between Mars and
Total,
Jupiter.
yeah, total coincidence.
It didn't
But
fall from the sky and land in
we
your
don't
kitchen or
know though.
anything.
That's the thing. We
True.
can't say
Can't prove
for
it didn't.
sure.
Can't
Yeah,
prove it
yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
So
I'm
therefore it did.
It could
skeptical.
have.
Could have been aliens. Never, never for sure.
I love
But
it.
but you know, I think I don't think I need to get the people here on board with the concept that there is this like innate biological thing inside of humans that we desire community, right? Again, I think if you're probably here hanging out with this group, you probably already are on that page.
Yeah.
If not, I will just say real quick, like you just hit me up personally. I will gladly send you some of the documentation that we've had. We've got real good understanding that when people are not around other people, there's a problem. Normally because of atrocious things that we as humans did in the past. But like that, the fact that it is so evident, in my opinion, unfortunately, in and of itself is not enough motivation
Mm-hmm.
to spur people to engage more. And that doesn't change the truth of it, right? But I think we're doing a disservice if we don't pay attention to that, if we don't recognize that even though this may be a fact of the world around us, it isn't something that causes us to wake up in the morning going, oh shit, I need to do this, when I wake up most mornings, as much as I'm not a fan of the effort involved in it sometimes, like I just have to clean my house every so often, I just have to fucking do laundry, like it just is the case, man. And that's a bummer, but that's the world we live in. And I think a recognition of that is really helpful whenever we approach these difficult situations. So I think oftentimes of an interaction I had when I was like 13. I hadn't seen this part of my family for about 7 or 8 years, and that included my mother. And we had gone up to Virginia, and my uncle was there, and my mom looks at him and she goes, Jesus, Todd, you look amazing. What did you do? Like you lost so much weight. You look so healthy right now. Like, what did you do? And my uncle Todd, who's just a complete, joke to his core, he looks back at my mom and he's like, well, I mean, come on, Gay. I grabbed a couple of those, pills from the local gas station and I popped them, and look, it worked. It's magic. And they're laughing because of course, she knows that's not fucking true. All those dietary things are garbage, right? And then, after they got done laughing, he goes, no, but seriously, I took about 3 months making a graph and a chart, and really really trying to hash out certain things that were good for me and certain things that weren't as good for me. And I spent 3 months just getting it ready before I ever put it into practice. And then it took me 2 years to get up to the point where I actually completely switched over my diet. And then after 2 years of doing it, that was when I started really seeing some of these results. And the reason I like that story so much is because I think it's really analogous for, I mean, basically fucking everything in life. Maybe there's a couple of things out there that don't follow the pattern, I'm sure there is,
Yeah.
right? But every single thing out there that I have been a part of, everything out there that I see that has this amazing, beautiful effect in the world, is something that takes a lot of work, and it requires focus on a daily basis. And you have to recognize coming into it that is necessary to get to where you want to go. And so that's definitely a part of this building of community that I think we shouldn't shy away from. I don't think we should hide that from people. Let them know up front, man. Like when somebody calls into one of the shows and they say, gosh, I don't have anybody around me, I'm stuck in the middle of fucking Missouri, or wherever, right? I mean, shit, in my state of Tennessee, right? I completely understand, man. You pick a direction from where I'm at right now in Nashville, north, south, east, west, doesn't matter. You go about 30 minutes, any one of them, you'll be in bumfuck nowhere, and I guarantee there's going to be a church every mile, okay? So it means that you have to do a little bit of work. And that sucks. I get that. I totally understand. I'm busy. You're busy. We've all got stuff that we've got to do. Okay. Let me real quick read you something. Couple of things here. And I'm gonna let you guys know this from the beginning, okay? Because again, I think we need to focus on the motivational aspect of it. Yes, it's just the case. It's just the case that there are a bunch of organizations out there that are Christian focused. Yes, it's just the case that human beings crave community, okay? That being said, we need something that motivates us. I don't think that fear is a great motivator. But I think if you use fear correctly, it can be a decent motivator. So I'm letting you guys know from the front, okay? I'm manipulating your emotions a little bit, okay? I'm going to be honest with you on that, but I'm going to read off some stats that I hope puts a pit in everybody's stomach a little bit, so you understand the fight that we have and why this is so fucking important, right? So the Institute for the Works of Religion, which is also colloquially known as the Vatican Bank, as of 2022, filed that they had 2.93 billion euros in their bank account. On May 14th of 2023, CBS News published an article. David Nielsen, a whistleblower, filed a complaint with the IRS in 2019 saying that during his 9 years working at Ensign Peak Advisors, the value of the firm's investment ballooned past 100 billion for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In 1987, the Church of Scientology filed a court document listing 503 million in income for that year, 1987. From then, the IRS spent about 10 to 15 years doing a deep dive investigation to find out more about the church's finances, only for the church to actively intimidate individual agents until the IRS finally shut down the investigation. The Southern Baptist Convention, which has its headquarters in my beautiful city, the Southern Baptist Convention has a subsidiary known as the Cooperative Program. It is the organization's unified funds collection and distribution program for the support of regional, national, and international ministries. The CP is funded by contributions from affiliated congregations, okay? At the end of the fiscal year, September 30th, 2008, the local congregations of the denominations reported gift receipts of 11.1 billion. So I hope that everybody hears all of that and says to themselves something in the vein of like, holy fucking shit, holy fucking shit, holy fucking shit. Because yes, that again, that just is the case, y'all. That is the world that we live in. One where we are already at such a disadvantage. We are already at such a place where we are on the defensive. We are on the back foot. And I think that should spur us to want to do more. That should spur us to want to engage more. Now, I get it. It kind of maybe sounds like I'm saying, hey, give a shit ton of your money and what, like, okay, I get that, how it comes off at the moment, but trust me, there's a lot of things that you can do that don't necessarily involve you giving billions and billions of dollars. Although
That's good. I don't have
good,
that.
yeah, right. Me either. Right. Anybody that has that wants to hit me up. Just I'll give you my address. But no, I it is important though. It is important though that we recognize that the Church of Scientology had $500 million in 1987. The fuck do they have now? Right? It's important that we understand that these organizations that are out there that are oftentimes at the forefront of some really, really fucked up things, in my opinion. Like, did anybody here read about the Pope recently? Old Frankie. Y'all remember when he got fucking put into the position, everybody was clapping their fucking hands, going, "Oh my God, he's so great. He's gonna be a great Pope. He's like so queer friendly. Like, oh my gosh, he loves women."
Ooh,
And
turns
then
out no.
recently just casually dropping a bunch of fucking slurs because that's who he is, because that's what his organization is, because that's what 3 billion euros at the end of the day goes towards supporting and perpetuating. And so
So
go ahead, please.
oh,
Please cut me
oh
off
no, I was
anytime.
just gonna say, yeah, no, I mean, it kind of sounds like in terms of community, then these organizations that have this amount of money, I know a lot of times there's kind of this idea, it's been mentioned in the chat, that you get the sense that, oh, well, community is kind of just goes hand in hand with religion. Religion is the
Mm,
place where you get
mm,
community. It's
mm.
synonymous with community, but perhaps actually it's just a function of having that amount of money. You can make just
Yes,
about anything happen real
yes,
easily.
yes. They are in the boat. And again, I just picked a few of these because I knew the numbers are staggering for them. We didn't talk about the Anglicans. We didn't talk about the Episcopalians. We haven't talked about the Shias or the Sunnis or the Ahmadis. We haven't talked about the
Mhm.
thousands of other groups that have 100 years worth of fucking history that have all of this institutionalized money. We didn't even talk about any of that stuff, right? Because I'll be honest, I don't want to scare you too much. I just want to use a little bit of it, just get you go, oh shit,
Yeah.
like yeah, this is bad. But absolutely, these organizations are in a space where they they sneeze, they trip, and they give $100,000 to set up a children's school after school program, right?
Mhm.
And that's the fight that we're in, which requires those of us that genuinely believe there is harm in that genuinely believe there is a better answer that is more based in reality, that is more based in science, more based in reason. This says to us, this is the data, guys. This is just us following the logic here. Look, the fight we have is one where we are behind a lot.
Mhm.
And that means
Mhm.
that we have to fight. We have to put in the work. We have to do more. Now, again, here's a really good thing. It's not just own a social media company where you can give $500 billion to an organization. That would be great, by the way. If anybody out there has a super rich family member or friend they haven't been actively pestering to write checks for RFR, I don't know what you're doing. You need to do that, right? You need to get on
We
that.
take donations year round, not just during the
Absolutely.
annual fundraiser.
Exactly. If that is the boat you're in, holy shit, oh my gosh, please contact people and do that. But for the vast majority of us, it isn't the boat. And the good news is we don't have to be in that boat. There are so many things that you can do and so many organizations and institutions that exist right now that you can participate in. I know so many people say to me all the time when they call, man, I don't have anybody close to me. I
Well,
Go ahead, please.
we've got a question.
Yeah.
Finish your thought, and
Well,
we've got a follow-up question to
it's
that.
it's when somebody says that to me, when somebody says to me, I don't have any group close to me, my two responses, very simple. One, have you really looked? I guarantee you, if you live in North America right now, and you are within a 50-mile radius of a major city, there is some group somewhere. You have to do the work, guys. Just the same as my uncle. It is not a fucking magic pill. You have to wake up for a couple of days in a row and get a fucking spreadsheet together. And you're not going to be the only one doing that. There are other people that already have that information. They've got it cataloged on their websites, on their YouTube channels, on their Twitter pages, but you have to look, okay? But the other thing is, it doesn't matter where the fuck you are. You can hop on this Zoom call. You can click this fucking link. You can join this type of community. So yes, I agree. It'd be awesome if you had both. That's a perfect world. But if we're not in that space currently, get involved with a space like this, because there are tons of them. They are always looking for volunteers here and every other nonprofit organization that I am lucky enough to get to work with. Every single one of them has a space, okay? A lot of times people come in and think, oh my gosh, well, what do I know? I'm not a therapist. I didn't leave religion. I don't have any of that. It doesn't fucking matter. Every single person that says, I have time, I want to do something, is incredibly valuable, because there are always things to do. You have no idea how important it was 3 months ago when I was putting on an event in Nashville, and this guy came up and he was just like, hey man, I didn't really mean to show up like this early, but do you need me to put out chairs or something? I was like, fucking Christ, Terry. Yes, that'd be amazing. We need 40 of them. Can you just put them in fucking lines? That is important. Put out chairs, clean bathrooms, put bags together, write note cards, all of this, you guys, seriously. Any time that you have whatsoever can be utilized if you want to get involved. So don't feel like you don't have the qualifications or anything. And I'll shut up
Yeah.
so you can ask that question. Sorry.
No, I love that. That's a really good point. Like, we try and touch on that every week, even on RfRx. Like, hey, if you have some time and some
Mm-hmm.
skills, or, just the ability to volunteer, we would love to have
Mm-hmm.
you. But I think you make a really good point, kind of connected to this idea that a lot of people, if they've grown up in a religious community, the community is just already there. It's
Mm,
pre-installed. You don't have to do
mm,
anything. You don't have to find it. It's already a part of your life. And you
yeah.
don't have to do those extra steps of figuring out, well, is it on meetup.com? Is it like, do I have
Mm-hmm.
to talk to people in person? Can I
Right.
find it online? Is this going to align with my generational preference for how I like to interact with other humans? It's it's more complicated.
Yes, it is.
And but it's there, and it can be definitely intimidating to think
Mm-hmm.
about, like, oh, I'm going to go volunteer at a nonprofit organization. Like, that doesn't
Yeah.
sound as accessible as I'm going to show up at church.
Right.
But it is accessible. Yeah. So I'm glad you said that. And yeah, we did have a question that somebody was asking, like, okay, so how do we start?
Mm.
Where can I volunteer? Where can I find these things? How do we start doing things like
Yeah.
what churches do, but not at church?
Yeah. 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 That's great. That's a great question. And one of the first things I wanna mention is that question is definitely gonna find its origins in you, right? You're that's a moment where you're gonna have to look in the mirror and you're gonna have to ask yourself, what do you really care about? Like, what are you interested in? And there's no right or wrong answer there, right? You might be more fascinated in painting. Like, dude, dude, do you know how many Christian painting groups there are? Now, I'm not even talking about nonprofits, just jackasses that get together, talk about God, drink some fucking wine, and paint shit. Like, do that. Do that, but just with the non-religion. Like, just do it like that, guys. Like, if you wake up in the morning and for whatever reason, and I really, really, I don't want this to sound bad. Genuinely, I mean this. I'm very glad that you care about this. I don't. But if you wake up in the morning and just think to yourself, trains are the coolest fucking thing ever. I love trains. I want to talk about trains. I want to show people trains. Do it. Do it. Do that, and just focus it in a way where you are purposefully being secular. You are purposefully bringing in skepticism and critical thinking, because as crazy as it may sound, you guys, there is a Christian train group. There is a group out there that gets together and they just talk about trains and they just talk about Jesus and how Jesus and trains, and it makes sense and they rationalize it. And that's good for them, man. I'm glad they have fun. But that's what I'm saying. We need that shit too. We need that stuff too. And there is a lot of that stuff already. The Sunday Assembly is out there, man. The Humanist Society exists. There are chapters of Atheist Republic all over the world. You can contact 1,000 different fucking people, but it requires you to do a little bit of work. Again, I'm not going to shy away from that. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that, like, oh, it just, you wake up in the morning, you snap your fingers and everything's beautiful. No, you are going to have to go out there and type into Google nonprofit atheist groups in your city. You're going to have to do that. Here's the good news. A lot of them are already cataloged. Like, before I even got on here, I went to a couple of different websites. Like, American Atheist has a catalog of shit like that. The ACA has a catalog of shit like that. The Humanist Society, FFRF. Like, I think y'all have a list of different there are lots of spaces out there that already have a good bit of this that are cataloged for you and make it easy for you.
Yes, and that's a great point, and I'm gonna try and pull up some of those lists that you just
Please.
mentioned, and we can add those, as links for people, because we have had a few people asking, "Hey, okay, so where do I go?" Because it can be challenging for people. I know some people kind of,
It
like,
is.
live online and know how to connect and are on all these apps and everything, and then other people are kind of like, "I don't know where to begin. Do I type this into the Google or something else?" Like, I
Right.
had Helen had to teach me how to use Discord, and I can still barely do it. So
That's
I
fair.
I understand.
And that's okay. And that's good, I think. And I don't want to just focus on the virtual spaces. I think
Mhm.
we've really done a great job of giving people a lot of those spaces. But in the intro that I was allowed to write, which you guys might rethink after that, but I mentioned that I'm one of the founding members of something called the Conversation Coalition here in Nashville,
Yeah.
and it's an organization that some buddies and I created about a year ago, and it specifically brings together atheists and Christians, and the entire point of the events is to hash out difficult conversations, nuanced topics about the most important things in life, where we disagree and we challenge and we argue, but we do so with the focus of friendship and community and caring about each other. And our goal is to demonstrate for people how to have those difficult conversations. And we started out doing this as mostly like a kind of on stage kind of debatey style thing. You got a moderator and then the Christian and the atheist, and does God exist, you got 5 minutes, and that's great, and we love doing it like that. But we've also started incorporating some more community focused events, because we always keep time for the audience to ask questions. We always want people engaging. We tell them specifically, whatever the first question that you have, we want you to throw that one away. We want you to think of the one you're not supposed to ask us. We want you to ask us the one is going to cause problems. That's what we want. Let's really get into it. Let's dig into the hard stuff. Because again, the goal is for us to demonstrate friends coming together and challenging each other and trying genuinely to figure out, the world that we live in and so forth. And again, what we've started doing more of are these hangouts at like a local restaurant or bar. And the last one, we had literally 30 people from the Middle Tennessee area, all, Christians of different stripes, atheists of different stripes, standing in a fucking circle. And we put 20 minutes on the clock and we said, here's the topic. and everybody just raised their hand and shouted out their thoughts, and everybody was going back and forth and all this stuff. And when we were done with that, when we got finished, I had Christians and atheists come up to me, and they said, this was so interesting. It was so cool to be able to just get to hang out with people and chat about this in this fashion. And the Christians were surprised about the ability to have community in another capacity. And that just shows me that there's something. I said it before we came on. The community in religion is background noise. It's something that you just expect. It's just there. And so you don't really think that much of it sometimes. And when even you, as somebody that goes to church 3 days a week, man, you're there all the freaking time. This one guy, that's what he said to me. He was like, dude, I'm at church all the time. Like, I'm a deacon. I've been going there for 10 years. I know fucking everybody and their whole family and stuff, but we've never done anything like this. This is something new. This is something different. And that just showed me again, it was a glaring example. Humans really need this, and we can't just have it focused on us getting around and yelling about the Bible. I love doing that. Okay, I love doing that. Believe me. Let's hang out. Let's talk about all the stupid shit from all the different religions. I swear, like, it is so fun. But like, let's go bowling, you know?
Yes.
Like let's just hang out. Let's just be people that care about each other. We don't have to spend 30 minutes arguing about logic this or premisey that or whatever. Let's just spend some time eating a fucking pizza and going, hey man, you know what? I've never really understood why people get so upset about pineapple on pizza, man. Oh yeah, me either. Actually, it's okay. Like
That's
I could have.
disgusting. It's
I
disgusting.
love it. The Hawaiian
Disgusting.
pizza is my favorite, and I'm
All
sure
I'm
that
saying,
it's not actually from Hawaii, but
if
yeah.
you, it's Canadian actually. Isn't that
Ooh,
crazy?
see,
If
that makes
you
sense.
think pineapple on pizza is a sin, I just want to point this out to you. You should try pineapple, jalapenos, and bacon first. You got to try that combination at least, and then you can
Yes.
say you hate it, because that's what did it for me. That's what tipped me over the edge. But anyway, like,
That
that's
is
what we
correct. I
need.
also recommend banana peppers. If you don't have
Oh, I love
jalapenos or if they're
banana
too
peppers.
spicy,
Yeah.
banana peppers
Oh,
are a good
absolutely.
sub. Yeah,
But that's
good
what we
point.
need. We need
Yes.
those moments. We need that shit.
Yes.
Like,
I
yet,
do. And yeah, I wanna mention too, like somebody even mentioned in the chat, like, hey, I don't really like this idea of talking about our side versus the other side. And what you're describing is exactly that. Like, can we just be with other people and not have
yes,
it be about, are you on my side or not my side? Can
exactly.
we actually have community with other people and argue about pizza instead of
Yes.
Jesus?
Yes. And you'll find that this is one thing that has been so wonderful for me. Again, even in Tennessee, in Nashville, man. I mean, we the buckle of the Bible Belt. We got fucking Lifeway Christian Publishing headquarters here. The Southern Baptist Convention meets here. The Methodists meet here. All this shit, man. But even here, these events, when we get together, it is so beautiful and wonderful to have the moment where I'm standing there talking with this hardcore fucking fundamentalist Christian person, and he's just shaking his head. He's got wide eyes, and he's going, well, yeah, I just think that's nonsense. People should be allowed to do what they want to do in their homes, man. I just think it's crazy what the fucking legislator is doing right now in Tennessee. It's a wild fucking time. I'm not going to go into that. I know you're a nonprofit, not supporting anybody or anything. I'm a guest, so I can say stuff because my views don't represent the organization. So fuck this Tennessee state legislator and Bill Lee. But anyway,
I wasn't going to go
Yes,
there.
no,
and
I didn't. Again, you guys didn't say
we
it. I said it.
can't.
I said
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Right.
The views of our guests do not
Right.
necessarily represent the views and
Right.
opinions of Recovering from
Bill Lee
Religion,
and the
which,
current
by the
Tennessee
way,
legislature is a fucking
Yeah.
wannabe
yes,
theocracy
I
piece of
can ask
shit.
you a more general question on the topic.
Yeah, please.
Because I have noticed, and most people probably have too, over the last I'll say 10-ish years and getting worse and worse.
Mm,
People who are Christian are also on one side of the political spectrum, wanting to take rights away from people, and people who
yeah,
are not Christian generally are on the opposite side. So
yeah.
is this not a problem when you get together and try to be friendly and talk about who likes pineapple on pizza?
That is really, really interesting. And I think it can be, and I think it also in no way, shape, or form has to be. And this is the focus that we put on it, right? So I think, again, us as non-religious people, us as atheists, us as secular humanists, so on and so forth, we have to be purposeful in what we do when we gather, when we have community, when we invite a bunch of our buddies out to the movies and we go watch the movie. We have to be purposeful with this, and we have to remember what we're doing. Yes, we're hanging out with our friends. Yes, we're just blowing off some steam and relaxing on a Friday night, but we're doing it specifically without reference and focus to God and religion. And that's important. And we shouldn't fucking shy away from that. We should mention that the reason that we're here is for a secular reason, right? And what I have found in these gatherings, what I have found in these meetups is that there is this, as shit as we can be, okay? As terrible as human beings can be. I'm not discounting any of that, you guys. Um, there is still this really beautiful thread that connects us all. And when you really sit down and you talk with somebody as a person and you spend 5 or 10 minutes just chatting about the weather, and then you find out that, he's actually got a local granite shop, and that granite shop just so happens to be the exact one that was down the road from where you grew up. And it's the one that you and your father went to when you were 12 years old, and you grabbed some of the scraps that they had because they said you could have them, and you grabbed those scraps and you made jewelry out of them. It's just this fascinating little coincidence of local Tennessee, my area type of shit. I made that connection with Rick, and then he said something about, I don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff going on in the schools these days, and I just feel like maybe they're pushing their agenda on kids a bit. And I said, well, Rick, you know, do you feel it? Do you feel that sometimes the Christians get that going too, man? I mean, I'm not saying I agree with you, man. I don't really think that's the right framing. But do you think it's a little fucked up that they force the schools to put up the 10 commandments? And Rick goes, well, I mean, I agree with them. We do have a pretty big, Somali and Kurdish population, and they're Muslim, and I could see why that wouldn't be right. It's like, yeah, man. Yeah, man. I right? That's fucked up. It'd be fucked up if they did that. If they just started posting shit from the Quran and all the school, that'd be fucked up. You agree with that? He's like, yeah, man, I do see that. Yeah, I get that, man. And so I think at first glance, a lot of times, especially because of the way we've been conditioned over the last handful of years, when we approach strangers that have these obviously different viewpoints than us, a lot of times the way we approach these people is in a very ships passing in the night kind of thing. That was something that when I debated in school, the judges they'd always cry about. They hated that because it's what's the point of us talking, right? One person gets up there and they go, I think the country's not going in the right direction. We need God. And the other side gets up there and he goes, I don't think you should push your views on us, and the country's not going in the right direction. And it's like, well, wait a second. Wait a second now. You're not really addressing each other. You're not really talking to each other as people right now. We're yelling We're saying things very strongly. And and again, I'm not saying shy away. I'm saying stand up, fucking with your chest, full fucking throated. I'm an atheist. I believe in the separation of church and state. I believe people have the right to love who they love. You shouldn't be fucking coming in and telling me otherwise. I'm not shying away from any of that. I'm showing you the point that we agree. You think there's a problem. I think there's a problem. You say, man, you know what? People should be able to, do what they want in the privacy and comfort of their home with consenting adult. Yeah, I agree with that, man. Why the fuck is our government right now passing these laws? This is your legislature, my legislature. Why are they doing this? When you sit down face to face with another human being that's in that purposeful space, that gets together, that takes 2 hours out of their day to come sit around, listen to a bunch of dickheads talk to each other about the Bible and philosophical nihilism and whatever 4-syllable words we want to say, right? When you're in that space with those people, you can communicate more honestly. And we need to take that opportunity, because I think more often than not, we will find we have a lot of common ground. One of my favorite Christian groups out there is Christians Against Christian Nationalism. Fucking
Ooh,
love that
interesting.
group. They are so wrong on the way that they see the world. Like they're just wrong. Like God did not create it. That's not how it works. Okay. Sin's not a thing. It's not okay. That they're wrong. But they're one of the best fucking organizations out there, because they stand shoulder to shoulder with me. They stand shoulder to shoulder with me when we talk about the harms of forcing people to have to engage in practices or beliefs that they fundamentally don't agree in, right? They
Yeah, and
absolutely
that's a good
disagree.
point. Yeah, I want to jump in here for a
Please,
second and
please.
address a question that somebody asked a little while ago, which was, can nonprofits be secular? Most of the ones I know are religious, and absolutely.
Yeah,
Like Recovering from Religion
yeah. Mm-hmm,
is a nonprofit. We are
mm-hmm,
secular.
mm-hmm.
A lot of the resources that we refer people to that we've mentioned tonight, you mentioned Freedom from Religion
Yep,
Foundation. I think somebody mentioned Planned Parenthood,
yep,
Secular Student Alliance.
yep.
All of these places are nonprofits,
I'll
and there are
throw in the one
tons of
that I write for,
nonprofits.
the Center for Inquiry.
Yeah, yeah, Center for
Yes.
Inquiry, absolutely. And there's
Yes.
even more. There's even more, you guys. And again, if there isn't one that hits your fancy, okay? Look, let me read you just real quick. I wrote this down right before I hopped on, because I was like, I bet I could come up with a whole list of things that will sound silly all read together. So these are different types of groups that are either formally incorporated as an organization, like have actual, fiduciary and legal, structure to them, or just like hangout groups that I personally have come across with that have a Christian bent to them. Okay. In my life, I have come across Christian groups that are specifically focused around football clubs, painting groups, hospitals, security and protection companies, book clubs, restaurants, coffee shops, schools, diet groups, addiction groups, peer mentor groups, summer camps, veterinary offices, glasses retail stores, appliance shops, vape stores, gas station, disc golf clubs, after-school programs, bakeries, pillow manufacturers, news organizations, and construction companies. Literally, every single thing that I just read to you, I have personally had an experience with an organization that fits that definition, and specifically starts off with, yeah, so we love Jesus. By the way, it's a par
And the
three on this. Like,
Yeah, and
that's
these are topics that are themselves secular. You could easily have a book club, a
exactly,
construction company, a garden club that
exactly.
has nothing to do with belief at all.
Exactly. We don't have to just focus ourselves in a manner where we are defined by our opposition and defined by us fighting others. right? We don't
Mhm.
have to be defined by the negative space that we occupy. Sure, sure, sure. We occupy the we don't believe space. Great. Awesome, man. We need that. We need that. We occupy the, hey, man, I'm not so sure about that space. I get it. I get that's great. I love those organizations. I'm involved with a shit ton of secular and atheist organizations, critical thinking, fucking all we do is sit around breaking down fucking logical arguments saying this is wrong, that's wrong, all that shit. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
I just
Can
asked Meta AI for a list, and I just put it in the chat.
yeah, hell yeah. And see, can we
That's a
get to
lot.
can we get together sometimes and just have a fucking coffee cabinet, Rob? That's all. We don't have to be.
Now
We
we're
were
going to
talking
have to explain
we
that
were
for
talking about
everybody
Yeah.
not from Rhode Island.
Yeah, you're gonna have to explain what a
we
coffee cabinet is.
we were talking
It's not a kitchen
not a
cabinet.
cabinet. No, it's like a milkshake, apparently. Rob was telling us this beforehand. I just thought it was a good moment to bring it back and reference
Yes.
it.
Very
But
good.
yeah, let's all get together and just have milkshakes, man. Let's just all get
Yeah.
together and just hang out as people, because that's what we
Mhm.
are at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
again, I was hanging out with a friend of mine just a couple days ago, and I was so glad that she said, I reached out to RFR and I'm going to start, working on, becoming, more volunteer and put my hands in there. I love that. I love that. But I hated the fact that she was feeling like she was pinned in because there weren't enough
Mhm.
places. There weren't enough spaces. We have to do this. Okay. And it's not 100% necessary, guys, that you go through all of the paper and all of the financials and getting a board and structure in the departments and do it. You don't have to go that far. Good news is, real quick, if you want to, you totally can. There's a bunch of different spaces online that have all of this information, all of these resources. I personally have used a place called nonprofitready.org. It's a wonderful space. They have a shit ton of information. Oh my gosh. You can find out so much about putting together a nonprofit in your area. You just start it
Mhm.
up. That's great. Great, 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 great. You can also
Yeah.
just post on Facebook that you're all getting together at the local bar and just
Yeah.
start doing that every Thursday from 6 to 8. That in and of itself is valuable. It's important. And we cannot discount the person who sets up the chairs. That's what I'm saying. This
Mhm.
person that comes in every fucking week and all they do is make sure that the doors are unlocked and the lights are on. That is needed. And you
Yeah.
can do that. You can fucking
Yes.
do that, y'all.
Or if not that, something else. Um,
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that, and I think I love the way you've described this and kind of illustrated so many different ways that people can get involved in community that isn't a big complicated thing. Like I've got to join a group and sign the thing that says I agree with all of their tenets and we've got this and that. Like you don't have to do all that. You can show up for the D&D group and you're in a community now. Like
Exactly.
that's enough. And we've got a few other questions too. And I'm kind of interested to hear. We've gotten a couple of questions that have to do with people who maybe don't want to be as involved in a community as they were when they were religious. And so I think these are both kind of connected. So
Heck
I'll
yeah.
put them both to you and get your take on this. One person is saying, well, I don't want to wake up early on Sunday morning to run to church and waste my whole day like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's so some atheists would rather keep to themselves
Yeah.
while still craving community? Can it be due to lack of trust? And like, what about that piece of it? What if we
Yeah.
don't want to be spending our whole day on things or being around all the other humans all the time? Like, is there
Yeah.
still a space there
Of
for
course.
community that maybe
Oh my
isn't
gosh.
all that?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So I'll use this example because I think a lot of people may have some familiarity with it just because so many of us now have are listening to podcasts and YouTube videos and shit like that, the TikToks and all that good stuff, right? So like probably the majority of people here, it won't be uncommon for them to, think of their favorite podcaster saying, hey guys, and just remember, if you want, you can always join our Patreon, get a bunch of exclusive member access to things. You can also send me some money on PayPal, and I'll hit you up there with a private message, or you can always just like, subscribe, and comment. It takes no money whatsoever, no effort on your part. The good news is that exists fucking everywhere. That exists for abso-fucking-lutely everything. You do not always have to join the Patreon. You do not always have to send money on a weekly basis. In fact, most places, you don't have to do that, and they don't even have a fucking option for you to do that anyway. All you have to do is look at the newsletter once a month when it comes out. All you have to do is say, hey, I thought it was really interesting that you brought up this point in your article. I'm wondering if you could tell me more. All you have to do is in your casual daily life. You don't got to make a big fucking deal out of it. You don't got to get a fucking billboard or go jumping around on the side of the road with a big fucking sign you hand wrote. You're just standing there in the fucking grocery store line, and somebody goes, yeah, I'm not so sure about this new law restricting access for medication for individuals in my, and you go, what, man? Hey, you know what? That's interesting. I was just listening to this podcast the other day. These guys had something interesting to say on that, man. Now they're non-religious, they're not Christians, but I think they've got a really good viewpoint. That's it, man. There are so many things you can do in your daily life that are valuable. One of the other founding members of Conversation Coalition Nashville, Gary, love this man to death. One of the reasons I love him so much is even me, the outgoing fucking grab anybody, just tell you my whole goddamn life story to you.
Outgoing? No.
Yeah, no. Very, very rarely talkative. But this man, Gary, will it blows my mind. He finds himself talking to absolute fucking strangers. And he's just telling them this crazy thing. He's like, man, can you believe it? Regularly once a month, myself, an active anti-theist, man, want to get rid of the church all over. I get together with a bunch of Christians, like 12, 15 Christians, and we all sit around and we all talk about how wrong each other is. And we hash it out. He's saying this shit to random fucking strangers, and their eyes are lighting up every time. There's not a single time that this has happened with him that the person hasn't ended the conversation by going, oh my gosh, that's the coolest thing I've heard all week. Let me go look into that.
And there's a Facebook group, isn't there?
Oh boy, is there. Oh boy, is there. We got it on Twitter too. I think we technically have a TikTok, but I'm just so bad at it. That's not the point.
I know.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah. Exactly. Like there are so many things that you can do that support and benefit these organizations. Again, it's just me every so often taking a call from somebody and just going, hey man, look, you know what a great place is you want to go hang out with? Some wonderful people and a wonderful focus. RfR, man. Just go check them out, man.
Hey,
go take 5 minutes. Exactly. And you can do simple things like that. You can do simple things like liking a video or shooting it out to some buddies or listening to it. And then 2 weeks later, when you're there in public with friends and somebody says something, somebody that you care about brings something up, they're struggling, they're not so sure, they need help. You go, hey, I just saw this discussion the other day on the Humanist Society. You might want to go check it out. They were talking about some of this stuff. So there's lots of ways that you can get involved and be an ally and be supportive, right? Like,
Mhm.
there are so many different things that you can do. And it doesn't require you to always drive 2 hours and go spend $50 and
Yeah.
hold the signs and do the protest at the Ark Museum. I mean, yes, we need that. And those of us that are willing to do that, thank you so much. Please keep doing it. Don't ever fucking stop. Let us know
Yeah.
when you need help and support. But hey, have you ever thought about bringing food to that person? You ever thought
Mhm.
about just cooking them a meal sometime? Or coming over and helping them out when they fucking need their grass cut? There's a shit ton of things that we can do as humans to support each other that
Yeah.
allows individuals to have the spoons to do all that other shit that is so important. And it doesn't always have to be us breaking our fucking backs. It doesn't always have
Yeah.
to be us emptying our wallets.
And that is an excellent segue into the other piece of this question. Well done.
I swear I didn't read
Someone,
them.
yeah, sure, sure. Um, but somebody else was asking about, hey, what about introverts, autistics, schizoid personality, that kind of thing? Are you aware of any research about um, the need for community for people who kind of fall into that, who maybe want a little bit less interaction with other people, or different kinds of things people can do if that's them, and maybe they don't want to go talk to people at the grocery
Yeah.
store or things like
That's a
that?
really, really great. I'm really glad whoever asked that brought that up. Because that is something that um yeah, a lot of the avenues in general are going to be a bit more restrictive for you. They're going to be a bit tougher. Um, one thing I can say at least is point out like this event, for instance. Half of the people that have been here this whole time since we started have not had their camera on. They haven't said a single thing in chat. There are a lot of spaces that already do have a lot of accommodations for people, and they're growing, but they're not perfect. They're not, and they're not super widespread, I think. And that sucks. And that is a disservice to our community. And I want to two things. One, I want to say there are still many spaces that you do have that option for, just like this, right? And by reaching out to those organizations and seeing how they are already structured, you will find that you fit in a lot more places than you think. One good thing I have found is a shit ton of these non-religious, secular humanist, atheist, critical thinking, free thinker, you say whatever label you want. Any of those words often tends to be a group that is more receptive to that criticism if they don't have those structures already in place. But more often than not, I have found that they do have a lot of those structures in place. Um, that being said, I want to I want to encourage you, and I want to support you a little bit and pump you up a little, okay? And just say like, thank you. Thank you for bringing that focus back to us here, right? In a space like this that already does so much to focus on that. Thank you. Because truly when that question was asked, I was over here going, "Oh shit, man. You haven't said anything about that." And so your voice is so fucking valuable. Your perspective is so incredibly important. And I would put fucking money on. I'm not a gambler. I'm not a bettor. That's not my thing. I would put fucking money on it though, that a good handful of organizations that you're thinking of that don't exactly have all of that support, that don't exactly have that avenue for you, I bet you if you reached out to them and you said something like that, just the way you said it here, I bet you a lot of them would be receptive. And they would say, "Oh my gosh, that was a massive hole that we were completely." I've been working with this one group. We do a podcast and we do a bunch of shows on YouTube. And somebody came to us, a creator that we all knew, a fucking a fucking PhD fucking biologist that works in the same goddamn lab that they did the Miller-Urey experiment, if anybody knows what that shit is. This motherfucker, brilliant dude, great fucking content creator, right? Known him for years, comes up to our group one day and just goes, hey guys, I don't think you guys are doing as much as you could to support the Black community. I think there's more that you could do when it comes to people of color in the skeptic, non-religious space. And it was kind of funny because like every single one of us just went, holy shit, dude, you're so right. Like, it's not like it's not like we were anti. It's not like we were, restricting it. No, of course not. But also, like, we just needed that outside perspective to show us, to remind us, to refocus us and go, hey, man, there's something else you're missing here. You're doing a fantastic job not sucking Jesus dick all day. Great. You're doing great talking about the science and reading the articles, and that's fantastic, man. That's so great. That's so awesome. When was the last time you talked about queer people, man? Isn't that something you also care about? Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right. Fuck. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
huge hole. So again, I want to support you and champion that viewpoint and just say, hell yes, please. You're right. We are not doing well enough there. And hold all of our feet to the fire and help us figure that out. We're going to need you and people like you in that space to go, hey, man, here's how you make this more accessible for individuals with disabilities. Here's how you make this more accessible for people of color. Here's how you make this something that is going to invite queer people and make them feel safe. We need your voice in all of these spaces. And if you get fucking pushback, reach out. Reach out to me, to other friends here. Say to us, hey, this is not fucking going anywhere. And we'll start our own fucking thing. That's what we need. That's the mentality we need to have. If we go out there and we try and we're sincere and these places say, fuck you, that's okay. I'll fucking download the paperwork myself. We'll incorporate tomorrow. Let's get it going. We got this. We can do this. We can support each other. So thank you. I appreciate that. That helps us remember we need to focus. We need to know that there are spaces that we're not adequately servicing.
Yeah, I love that you said that very well, and thank you for bringing that up. That is important, and please let us know. You can also email us, rfrx@recoveringfromreligion.org, if there are ways we can be more accessible and bring more people in. I know it's something that we're constantly working on, and we're not you don't know what you don't know. And I know it's so easy for those of us who like to talk a lot to be doing all of the talking. And that makes it hard to hear the people who don't talk as much or don't have the opportunity to talk as much. So it's something that I try to constantly work on being better at too. But yes, please let us know if we're not. And Rob, do you have another question? I feel like we're kind of in the Q&A part at this point.
Yeah, are
so
we? I just looked
I think
down and it's
we're
like
in it.
almost 8:30, like my time. I
Yeah.
can't believe we've actually filled up this whole
Oh, I knew we would have
time
no
here.
trouble. We're a bunch of extroverts on this program. So we have no problem filling up time. We have problems getting to all of the
That's
questions.
right.
So
Shutting up. That's always. Yeah.
We have a
yes,
rather
exactly.
long one left. I will put it in the chat just so you might forget what the beginning was by the time I get to the end, but I'm going to read it out loud for the people watching this later and who don't see the chat. So I recently moved to Kentucky from the West Coast, and all my communities back there, and the chat just jumps and I don't see it. Let me go back to the script where it was. Zoom chat. All right. I recently moved to Kentucky from the West Coast, and all my communities back there, I was a token Christian among atheists, science fiction, collectors, writers, food banks, Toastmasters. Nobody cared about religion. Here, Those secular groups are filled with Christians. I deconverted only 8 months ago. I'm really new to atheism, and it's bizarre to be talking to someone about Star Trek, and suddenly they're talking about Satanist child trafficking. I don't even know how to respond. I have no experience with this kind of thing. What is your advice?
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. Um, I I'm gonna steal something that I heard this one guy. I don't know if anybody here has ever heard of him. Daryl Ray.
Mm. I hear
He's
tell he might even be hanging out here somewhere.
well, he wrote some book or something,
Some
maybe
books.
did some, yeah, whatever. Not that important. But I heard him once answer a similar question, and I have taken that answer and just ran with it because I think I think it's spot fucking on, which is the first place you need to start in a space like that is asking yourself, what is your goal? What is the purpose of you engaging with this person? um because if this is somebody that you really care about, this is somebody that is close to you, right? A family member, a friend that you're connected with in a relationship, intimate, anything along those lines. um if the way that you're going into this conversation is more in the capacity of, I want to change them, I want to fix them, I would just ask that, again, you look in the mirror first. Don't look outside the window just yet. um because maybe that's not the right motivation, maybe that's not the best way to have this conversation. um that being said, I think that leads us into um a space where another wonderful fellow, maybe people know him, maybe they don't, a guy named Anthony Magnabosco, who does this whole like street epistemology thing. By the way, Street Epistemology International, a nonprofit organization that has been creating and cataloging techniques for street epistemology and so forth, and how to use them in your daily life. They recently came out with a free module. They came out with this is their first module on how to learn how to do this and how to take it into your daily life. I just totally want to suggest that for absolutely everybody to go look. It's a beautiful way to have these types of conversations, and that's what I'd offer, honestly. Um, is try to approach that conversation in that capacity. It's not always possible. I had a gentleman once, literally, this is literally just a couple months ago, like at the beginning of this year. It was really interesting. At my work, this customer who's a regular there, so like we know each other decently, but also like, we're not hanging out on the weekends or anything. But he just like walked up to me and started talking to me about how, those people, the big scary folks, they destroyed all this knowledge, before the 1850s, all this really important knowledge about like stuff like, how Noah's flood made the fucking Grand Canyon or whatever. And so, you know, I was really uncomfortable for sure. I'm standing there at work thinking to myself, I've got 2 more days till the end of this pay period. How much do I like this job? How much do I like this customer? Do I feel like I could justify to my boss why I said the thing? I don't know, right? It's a tough one. That's a real internal struggle for me. But I did employ just a little, not too much, just a little bit of street epistemology in that moment. And what I did was, after he said all that about, forbidden knowledge and shit and Noah's flood and, evolution might not be true, he didn't go super far, but he was getting there. But I was like, hey man, that's really interesting. I actually didn't really know any of that stuff. Where did you come across it? You know, I wasn't trying to change his mind. I wasn't trying to argue. I just wanted to, my intention in that moment was not to fix or correct. My intention in that moment was to be curious and to see if they had ever been that curious. And I that's one of the things I think is so really valuable about the street epistemology approach. It's attempting not to push back so much on the ideas or the claims or the sources. Instead, what it's doing is it's giving somebody the space to justify it for themselves, because there's so much about our lives that we haven't done that for, but both on the religious and the non-religious side, that just cuts across humanity. We just accept some things and we move on, and we participate, right, without ever really going like, hey, does that make a lot of sense, man? Like, do we have a good reason to accept this? And so again, that specific situation that you described, which I totally get, would be a little jarring out of nowhere. It's just like, yeah, and like these Satanists are trafficking children and stuff. And like, whoa, what the fuck? What? Yeah, I would offer that I would offer that street epistemology approach, which again, Street Epistemology International, a nonprofit that has recently created a module on how to kind of use those methods. I love their stuff. I love that approach. I think it's really really valuable. So
Thank you.
well,
So Anthony actually did one of these talks for us on
yeah, yeah,
introduction
yeah,
to street epistemology, and
yeah. He's
yeah,
amazing. He's amazing.
trivia point here. He's the one who interviewed me when I signed up to volunteer.
That's so cool. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
and it was just, yeah, you just
Wow.
get an email that says you will be contacted by Anthony, no last name, and I just gave you the punchline, but it's like the guy's talking to me, and within a half a minute, I know you. I must have listened to hundreds of hours of you talk. And he goes, "Oh, damn, I'm gonna have to get a voice changer if I'm gonna continue to do this."
Well, okay, and Anthony Magnabosco is a phenomenal example for what I've been talking about today, okay? Because like so many people, and myself included, you guys, like when I first came across his stuff and I watched some of his videos, I'm sitting there going like, "Oh my God, this son of a bitch was just at UT Austin like 2 weeks ago having this comment." No, he did this shit years ago. He did this shit years ago. He has been putting in the fucking work. He has been an unsung, nameless, faceless hero for years. Just some random son of a bitch on the corner with a fucking camera in his hand. That's he's the guy that turns the fucking lights on and off at the fucking rink after everybody's gone home.
And by the way,
Like
Dr. Ray just put in the chat, he is still doing interviews for us. So,
he's amazing.
Yeah,
He's
that's
amazing. And
awesome.
look what his efforts have brought. His efforts have brought together a group of people, dozens of people who have gotten together regularly to the point that they have created a rigorous methodology. This isn't just some people writing a couple of bullet points on a fucking random blog or a Twitter post. This is thousands, thousands and individual data points that these people have been gathering on a daily basis, bringing together and synthesizing so that they could put out for the world a guidepost, a list of things that you can practice, you can use in your daily life. You don't have to be a fucking billionaire. You don't have to be a fucking PhD. No, you, me, all of us normal people get to do this now because 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever fucking years ago, some dude went out there and went, I think it would be important if I just actually had conversations with people, and just did it. And he kept doing it. And
I,
that's
I
what
I,
we
love
need to
that.
do.
I wish I had found
Yes.
him a decade ago. Oh, yeah, because I used to work with a lot of people who were fundamentalists, Bible literalists, and I just
Yep.
argued the worst way you possibly can, and we eventually just stopped talking. The whole thing about the
Same.
backfire effect. No, you're wrong because the flood didn't happen because, and then, I would send it just that never works. It's just
Yeah.
they put up walls, they get angry that you're arguing with them. And yeah, now I understand the street epistemology would have worked a lot better.
And
Yeah.
same, like I didn't start out like so many people when they speak to me now, or they interact with me and they go, oh man, I seen you on this, or oh, I loved the way you said this or whatever. This was really weird. I got a message earlier today. Excuse me. Sorry. I got a message earlier today from one of the ACA producers, and they were like, hey, good job. One of your clips that we just posted on Instagram just hit, 50,000 views in like a fucking day or whatever. And that's great. And I like watched the clip and I was like, I don't really feel like anything in there was particularly brilliant or anything. I just kind of had a dumb look on my face for most of it.
Hint, hint,
Um,
Cara, we need to make a quick moment out of some stuff tonight from
yeah,
Elliot.
Apparently
yeah.
so. We have
Get
a
some
social
stupid.
media
Wait till I make
star.
some dumb face or something. Yeah, I don't know. But like that's the way that so many people have come across me in a lot of capacities, and I always try to remind people. I always really try to let people know that the only reason that I'm here, the only reason I'm doing any of this, the only reason I have been able to be so lucky as to make all the wonderful connections and get all the beautiful people in my life that I have now is because 4 or 5 years ago, after spending years looking in and watching and researching and commenting and arguing, doing all that shit, somebody finally said on a show once, they said, we just need somebody to answer phones. Just any son of a bitch has got a goddamn cell phone and can talk. Could you just answer a phone for me? And I just reached out to him. I just sent him a message and I said, hey man, you don't know me. I'm some random dickhead, but I just want to get involved. I just want to do anything. And that resulted in, next thing I know, I'm working behind the scenes at the ACA. I'm working behind the scenes at Atheist Republic. I'm helping out with the Atheist Network group, with Skeptic Haven. I'm getting invited to places. People are saying, "Oh man, come do this, come do that." Buddies of mine in Nashville are saying, man, I saw you doing this show. Hey, do you want to do like a local thing? Like, should we get together? All of this shit, all of this shit. Next thing I know, I'm friends with the guy that puts on NanoCon. Next thing I know, I'm hanging out with Seth Andrews. Next thing all it takes, all it takes is you doing that first little bit. And it's not much. It's not much. Just commenting, just saying hi, just shooting an email, just saying, I'm free on Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. my time. All of that is incredibly valuable. And you absolutely can do that. You absolutely fucking can. We all have just a little bit of space we can give. And all of that is incredibly valuable, because I promise you, whatever it is, I had never fucking answered calls from people. I had never fucking done show notes. I hadn't done any of that shit. They sat down with me. They worked with me. They explained it to me. And there are so many places like that and so many people like that. You absolutely can do more if you want to. You absolutely
Yes.
can.
For sure, and we will find a spot for you,
Right.
or someone will find a spot for you, and we have just a little bit of time left. I think we have time for one more quick question. Rob, would you like to give us our last question of the
I
evening. And
feel
don't forget, we'll have a hangout after this, so we can
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
should
I'll
I
be
pollinate.
should I
hanging.
leave
Yeah,
Yeah.
the leaf sheep for the hangout?
Yeah, leave the leaf sheet for
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
explain. I'll explain. Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
yeah.
Stick around for the hangout if you want to
Okay.
learn about leaf
Yeah,
sheep.
because I asked that one and I feel bad about inserting my own question. All right, so I'll read one of the other ones. Okay. When conversing with or arguing with fundamentalists, do you feel like you are addressing emotional issues rather than logical ones?
Oftentimes, yeah, totally. Oftentimes, totally. Yeah, 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 yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Um, we we haven't done a fantastic job, not 100% across the board, but in general, I think we haven't done a fantastic job on the secular, rational, humanist, non-religious side of really giving credence to emotions. Humans are emotional, and emotions are incredibly important. And some newer recent like studies of cognition actually seem to indicate emotion has an even greater influence and maybe even more important to consciousness, than we had thought to begin with. There's some really cool stuff with like the spinal cord and the development of early consciousness, and then of course all the shit we're learning about the microbiome in the gut. Like truly, emotions are really, really important, and we shouldn't shy away from that. An emotional appeal is a logical fallacy. I'm not saying otherwise. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if we're doing a premise one, premise two, conclusions, syllogism, argument, logic, cool, man. Yeah, you don't get to override the premises or the conclusion because your response is that makes me sad. Yeah, I grant that. Like, I'm not disagreeing in any way, shape, or form. And we should care about that. It is important that we care about that and we have that space. But we absolutely are doing a disservice to ourselves individually, our friends and families that disagree with us or are in society writ large, and our position and fight as a whole when we shun the discussion of emotion, when we don't want to bring into the conversation the fact that this makes me feel uncomfortable. This makes me feel happy. Like that is a crucial point to this stuff, man. And we absolutely need to make sure that we have some kind of answer to that. The good news is, in my opinion, and I've said this for a while now, I I genuinely think properly applied skepticism leads towards things like, you know, being an ally and a supporter of LGBTQ rights. I think if you do the logic, if you do the hardcore emotionless syllogisms, you get to these things. You get to atheism, you get to secular humanism, you get to separation of church and state, you get to LGBTQ rights. This is vaccines working, education for children and nutrition. You get to this stuff. I totally think following the chain of emotionless, pure, hard logic gets you there. I also think it's very important that we tell people the stories. That's how so many of the religious people get people. They tell you this beautiful story, and it is beautiful. And it's important because it's a crucial aspect of humanity. And again, I absolutely will stand out on the ledge and take this hard stance. I think the stories are better. They're more beautiful. They hit the emotional side of us stronger. This side of the argument has the better narrative. We do. We abso-fucking-lutely do. Wait till I tell you about how cool leaf sheep are. You will never, never listen to a motherfucker tell you that you need spirituality. Otherwise, the world isn't cool. I'm telling you, what we have on our side is the stronger argument. We can make a better TV show with this. We can tell a better story that makes you cry when the music swells. We have that on our side, and we need to make sure that we don't leave that hanging. We need to make sure that we don't leave that in a paltry state, because it is something that is important to people. People care about that shit. They want to know how it affects them and how it affects their family. And again, I genuinely believe following the emotionless logic, following the hardcore, objective, critical thinking and skepticism brings you on this side. Now we just gotta add a little bit of the extra fun stuff that they all do and just show them why our side is better, because it absolutely is.
Does it involve leaf sheep?
It does. It's kind
Yes.
of. I want it. See, you're getting me excited. I want to tell you. It's one of my
Yes.
favorite
Don't.
creatures ever.
All right, so
Okay,
I'm going to
we're
make a
doing
little.
this in the Hangout.
Yeah, I'm going to make a promo here, and this is a reason for you people watching later on the internet on YouTube. You're not going to see that part. You got to come to these live to get these kinds of
Yeah.
special things.
And stick around for the Hangout. Yes, absolutely. That's a great ad for our Hangout, which we're going to go to here momentarily. So stick around. And if we didn't get to your question yet, stay for the Hangout and we'll answer as many as we can. We didn't skip it because we didn't like it or anything like that. We usually get more questions than we can get to because we like to talk here. But we want to keep talking. So stick around for the Hangout and we'll keep going. And I almost forgot to read the poll results, so I want to do that real quick too. Let me share those. So the questions that we asked at the beginning were, how important to you was or is the sense of community when practicing a religious faith?
Yep.
And 51% of people selected extremely important. So that is a huge number of people.
And if you add in, I'm so sorry to interrupt. If you add in the moderately important and a little bit important, I mean, that number is so fucking huge. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. It is so innate to us as people.
Yes, it's the vast majority. And it was just like we talked about at the beginning of the show. I didn't think about it that way at the time, but looking back, oh, absolutely, that was the main thing that people were doing. And let me go down and ask the follow-up questions or report the responses to the follow-up questions. Let's see. The second one was, are you currently involved in any secular communities? And we gave a couple of examples. These are just a few. Elliot told us a whole bunch more, but things like Sunday Assembly, Oasis, a local free thought or atheist group, Unitarian Universalists. I know we've got a lot of people in the Satanic Temple around here, that kind of thing. It was 50-50 split. Half of people said yes.
Awesome. I think that's so awesome.
I would ask, do we count there? We didn't get
listed. I think if you're here right now, you're in a secular community.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, basically, yeah. But I think it's also really good to see, outside of that, like how many of the people that are here and are regulars here are also involved in other groups. And I think it's total coincidence. Maybe if we did this next week, it'd be 60-40, 70, whatever. Sure. But I think it is so fascinating. And again, I totally just want to encourage everybody, like, please don't stop being here. Like, absolutely come to fucking everything that RFR does. Do absolutely everything that you can to help support this and Secular Therapy Project. What are you doing? What are you doing tomorrow? Like, are you busy at 3 p.m.? Like, I swear there's a fucking organization out there you could probably write some notes for or like a video.
And also, if you sign up to volunteer here, who knows, maybe Anthony Magnavasco, you might get a private chat.
I mean, how cool would that be? Like, next thing you know, you're a guest on RfRx. Like, what the fuck,
Hey. Yeah, you might find out that you believe something that you don't actually believe after you're done talking to Anthony, but
yeah, he
no
does
pressure.
that.
Okay. The rest of the poll questions were: did involvement in the faith community impact your decision to remain in a religious faith beyond your deconversion? And 34% of people said yes to that. That is actually a significant amount.
Yeah.
And 24% of people said not applicable. So maybe they are still in a religious community or did not find the community piece of it particularly salient. But that's a third of people. If that were the number of people that were in religious communities right now, and I understand our sample is biased here. Most people who are here at RfRx are people who, are having questions and doubts or may have already found their way out. But a third of people,
Yeah.
even just from our group, were staying in a religious faith after no longer believing it anymore, just
Wow.
for the community.
But
Like,
this often comes
that's
up
huge.
in my discussions on the helpline, if it's applicable to what we're talking about. But in the context of, I remember seeing a poll where clergy members of all faiths were asked, are they actually believers or do not believe anymore? And I remember the number is fairly high, that an anonymous poll,
Mm-hmm.
my recollection was 10% or so, that don't actually believe it anymore and still
Yeah.
preach. So I'm
Yep.
thinking, if that's the clergy, how many
Yep.
percent are in the pews that also, it has to be higher than that.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
because a lot of times and I'm sure this will ring true for so many of us, we really thought nobody else was going to be there. We genuinely felt like we were the lone tree in the desert. And
Mhm.
that's just something incumbent on us, I think. Again, I'm not, I'm not trying to heap a bunch of pressure on anything. I'm trying to do it in a friendly, like, supportive way, and saying, like, I myself am not matching up to this all the time, which is, even I need to do a better job of getting out there and letting people know and telling people what's up and telling them exactly where I stand and letting them know that there is a safe space for them to land. I believe still to this day, Gail, you have the label of one of the most dangerous women in Tennessee,
Ooh.
all because you decided to do the absurd, radical thing of running as a non-religious person for office, for
I
a
heard about that.
secular government, by the way,
Yeah,
secular
yeah.
government, by the way.
Guess where I heard about that? I think there's an RfRx episode where Gail talked
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, there
Ooh, I
might
think there
be,
might be.
so we all need to have that courage, and we all need to find that fight in us, and we all need to be out there and be able to show other people, like, hey, we're here and you're not alone. You are safe if you come out, yeah,
Yeah.
again, a third of this community was in that boat. That just
Mhm.
shows you the fucking hold that religion has on people like that. So
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I've
Absolutely.
just been derailing. I'm sorry, I just
No,
talked too
no,
much.
it's perfect. This is perfect timing. It's time to wrap up, and we have ended right on time. And we did have one final poll question, which was, what is your favorite activity to do instead of church? And we got a whole lot of answers for that. I'm not sure if are y'all able to see those while I'm sharing the poll results? I'm
No,
not.
I can't.
Okay.
Uh-uh.
I will read them to you. I'll just give you a sampling. We got several people saying they like to sleep in, they
Yes.
like to read or listen to audiobooks, they like to watch sports. Someone likes to do anything, including shoving bamboo under their fingernails to avoid going to church,
Where's
as well
the
as things like volunteering.
Where's the 2-hour masturbation sessions, y'all? Where were those
Right.
responses? This is RFR, y'all. Come on. I was expecting at least one person to be like, you know, just getting it on or something. No, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm
I'm not
sure that's in
disappointed.
there. Yes. I love it. So thank you for participating in our poll and sticking around. And please stick around for the hangout. We will go to that here momentarily and continue the conversation. But before we do, we want to remind you to join us next week. If you have enjoyed being here this evening and are looking for a place to experience community, you are in the right place. We're here every week, same time, same channel. And we're going to keep talking about this from several different perspectives over the next couple of weeks. Next week, we have Rebecca Vitzman, who's going to be talking about visibility of the invisible in the humanist community. And she is actually going to be talking about some of the things that we mentioned earlier in regards to people who may have invisible disabilities, people who are neurodivergent, and ways to be more inclusive. She also has a really cool children's book that just came out recently that we'll share a little bit about. So that's going to be really fun. And we have Durante Lamar the following week. And then in a few weeks after that, we have Rob's talk about whether humans are actually special in the universe. So stick around. We have fun stuff every week and we hang out after every time. And don't forget to follow us on social media, another place where you can find community if you are so inclined. You certainly do not have to. If that is for you, you can find us on Facebook. We have a main page and a Facebook support group page. We are on X for now. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and of course, we're on YouTube. You can find almost 200 previous episodes on our YouTube channel. Search Recovering from Religion, including the one with Gail. So check those out, and a previous one with Elliot, as well as a few from Rob. There's lots. There's almost 200. Okay, and we've kind of hit this hard already, but Rob, do you want to briefly remind people how they can get involved with volunteering if they want to?
Yes, it's actually easy. But anyway, the reason to do it is we've learned that the healing part of what we do here can come from helping others. So we volunteers find meaning and purpose by volunteering. All of the services that are used that you will find in RFR are supported by volunteers, and we're always in need of more people. Besides the sort of jobs that you generally hear about if someone recommends calling us, which is the helpline, we need people to find and vet and post good resources that were mentioned before so that our clients and the agents can use them. We need people to host support groups, support and moderate the online community you heard about. We even need IT support people because we do our own software. We don't have all the atheist bucks to spend on, expensive programmers, and we have volunteers to do that sort of thing and constantly make it a better experience for our clients as well as for the agents. So to apply as a volunteer, fill out the form on our main page. You can go to recoveringfromreligion.org, and at the top it says volunteer, and you'll have to read a little bit to understand what you're getting yourself into, just, what kind of thing we do here, that you'd be working from home, that sort of thing. And then you click a button and you get the application form. It's really easy. And like I said, you might get to talk to Anthony Magnabosco. Can't promise that though. And special note, we are definitely right now looking for web developers and also volunteer trainers and support group leaders, and also people to answer the phone lines, pretty much everything.
Yeah, come join us if you have some time. Let us know. We'll find a spot for you. Okay, and let's go ahead and wrap up. Let's bring on Dr. Ray to close us out for the evening. Oh, are you there? He is with his awesome background. I love that.
Well, thanks, Kara. Yeah, I love that background. And that was created by our new social media and graphics director, so Cass. So we owe a lot to Cass. He's doing a great job. We're seeing such interesting creativity coming out of his group right now. And it's not just him, but it's other people, obviously. So, Elliot, thank you so much for coming tonight. This was a very interesting discussion. But this is the area that I am absolutely passionate about. As you probably already know, it's not news to you, but 10 years ago, almost none of the groups we mentioned existed. Sunday Assembly hardly existed. Oasis just celebrated its 10th anniversary here in Kansas City and the 11th anniversary in Houston. These are very brand new religion substitute communities. And it is a lot of work. I mean, ton of work. I'm in awe. I helped start the local Oasis, but I'm so busy with everything else. I attend and I give them feedback, but I'm not deeply involved in the running of it. But I see how many volunteers it takes. It's a lot of effort. And you've kind of touched on this, but I'll say that I'll bet for every 10 people that call the Oasis network and say, hey, we'd like to start an Oasis, only one, if that many, even actually gets it going, because it is a lot of work. But the reward is so amazing. And it's so amazing that this year, last September, we moved into our first building. We're 10 years old, and we now are in our own building. We don't have to rent from anybody. And we had a big blood drive this week, and the local blood place came in and set up everything right inside our building, and they didn't even know it wasn't a church. That was the funny thing. All these nurses and people that are religious are there. They're helping take blood, and they find out this is a fucking atheist place. That was kind of interesting. I give blood every time I can. Just a quick aside. Oasis is incredibly welcoming to anybody. We have a ton of people with ADHD, with all sorts of neurodivergence, and we try to rotate them right into our speakers. I mean, they're very included in our organization, and we're pretty darn diverse in terms of other non-white groups. Anyway, I just had the experience literally yesterday. I was getting ready to give blood, and one of my ADHD friends, son of one of the main people of Oasis, came in, and he was going to give blood for the first time. So I hugged him and I told him how proud of him I was, and he's scared shitless. I mean, the poor kid is just, he's only like 19 or 20 years old, and he's just really afraid, but he wants to do it, and he wants everybody to, support him. So I support him. I literally sat through it, talked to him, and when it was finished, we sat down and had a cookie together, and then he said it didn't feel bad at all. I hardly felt it. And I said, well, I'm really proud of you. And his mother's sitting right there, and she's really proud of him. And that's the kind of community we've got. And I just, as you can tell, I almost get tears in my eyes about this organization. And we have over 900 members on our page. Of that, about 100 attend every Sunday, or there's 100 people there every Sunday. It can vary from Sunday to Sunday, but Gail's spoken there once or twice, I think. I've spoken there many times. And anyway, many of our speakers here have spoken there. So I just wanted to say, I see a lot of secular groups really opening their arms to the autistic community and a non-binary community, the LGBTQ community, everything. It's really amazing to see that kind of welcoming. And we tabled at Pride this year. We tabled at Leavenworth Pride this year. We tabled at Lexington Pride this year. Oasis is at a lot of prides, by the way. Now, I'm not here to pat ourselves on the back too much, but I am. I mean, our people are fucking awesome because they're so welcoming to anybody, and I just love it. I just love watching people be open to differences and not trying to put people in boxes. I'll also go one step further. We have a man here in town. He only lives 3 miles from me. His name's Fred Hareen. He started a group about 15 years ago called Provocateurs and Peacemakers. And you will like this, Elliot. It is a group of Christians and atheists that come together almost every week. And they have book discussions and they have speakers, but their name is Provocateurs and Peacemakers. And they've been going for like 15 years. I've spoken there several times, and I attend occasionally. It's a great group of Christians and atheists coming together. Now, they really don't do anything else except meet once every week or so, or I guess they meet every 2 weeks. 1 week a month is a book club, and 1 week a month is an a speaker or open discussion. And I'm sure there's other groups like that. That's the only one I know, and that's here in Kansas City. We've had a lot of good secular groups here. Anyway, I can ramble on. But I want everyone listening to my voice right now, to realize that we want you. RfR wants to help you connect with the community. RfR can help you get there, but you can find community through us. We'll send you to the Texas Free Thought meeting. We'll take you to the Church of Free Thought. We'll send you to Oasis. We'll send you to the Unitarian Church. We don't care. We'll give you a whole group, and we've got a deep set of resources for secular groups all over the world. We can connect you really, really quickly. And then once you get in, you can start trying to decide how or if you want to volunteer to support their local mission, whatever that is. Anyway, last but not least, I'm going to repeat what Rob talked about, and that's volunteering. I'm going to add this. Our volunteer training is second to none. You will find no organization that trains the volunteers better than we do. And you will find it potentially life-changing when you learn the kind of skills that we've got to teach. And a part of those skills relate directly to street epistemology. And Anthony Magnabosco, I'll just add that, is the single longest serving volunteer in recovering from religion. No one else besides myself has been here longer. That's a fact. Anyway, I have rambled on and bragged enough about Oasis and recovering from religion. Back to you, Kara.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This was a good night to do it. And awesome episode. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you, Rob, Glenda, Gail, Daryl, Nikki, everybody that does all of the things behind the scenes who you're not seeing tonight. We need everybody. Thank you for all of your help and for being here.